friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Em and we are here today with a March book haul, even though we're like 3/4 of the way through April. It's fine. That is the speed that I am running at right now. So we're just gonna go with it, okay? Pretend it's normal. I went a little unhinged in my book buying in March. The irony is that I am also trying to read through my unread shelf, but yet I had a really hard mental health month in March, and that manifested in me buying a whole bunch of books. Luckily, some of that was me purchasing books that I have already read and loved, but just didn't have a physical copy yet, so that has saved my bacon a little bit. Without any more rambling, let's just get on into this haul. This is in no particular order. I just pulled them off the shelves, threw them in a stack, and I'm just going to go through them in the order that I threw them down on the floor in. So the first book I bought, well, not the first book I bought, but the first book I'm going to show you that I bought is A Sinister Revenge by Deanna Raybourn. This is book whatever in the Veronica Speedwell series. It is one of my very favorite historical mystery series, and typically I read the new Veronica the week it comes out, and I have not done that yet this year. This is still sadly unread, and I would like to say I'm going to pick it up really soon, but I am leaning hard into mood reading, so who knows. I don't even know what happens in this one. I realized maybe about a week after this came out that I had been confusing the plot of the last book with the plot of the book before it. So my memory had just totally erased what happened in the last book. So love that for me. I'm sure it'll be fine. I'll have a good time though, because I usually do. Another book I purchased in March is I Never Liked You Anyway by Jordan Carilla. I picked this up for my Nebula project because this is the one novella that is a finalist that I just couldn't access anywhere else. And I have since read it, so that's great. I'm going to talk about this more in depth in my Nebula video, which will be coming hopefully shortly. Hopefully, fingers crossed, that will be coming shortly. Another book I bought that I have already read is Too Bright to See. This is by Kyle Lukoff. This is middle grade. I read this, I think, right when it first came out from the library, and I absolutely loved it. It's so sweet and gentle and wonderful, and I just really wanted a copy for my shelf, and then I was mad that I didn't have one, so I got one. But this is a story about Bug, and Bug's uncle, I believe, has just passed away, and it's just really lovely about grief, and yeah, I loved it. Highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. This is another one that I have since read since I purchased it. This is The Stolen Prince of Cloudburst by Jacqueline Moriarty. This is another middle grade book. This is book 3 in, I believe it's called the Kingdoms and Empires series. Book 1 is The Extremely Inconvenient Adventures of Bronte Medleston. Book 2 is The Wednesday Wars, and then this is book 3. This is a funky series because they started off being published by Scholastic. So books 1 and 2 have a totally different cover thing. And then I don't know what happened with Scholastic, but she is now being published by Levine Corrido. And so the style has totally changed, but it's same world. There's always a different set of characters. And this one follows Bronte's cousin, Esther, who is the middle child. She has 3 sisters, and it's what's the adventures at their boarding school that they go to. I love the tone of this series. It's really light and ridiculous, but in a really smart and clever way. Like, there's a lot of thought to the ridiculousness of these books and of the characters and the language and the plots, and I think they are just a lot of fun. They're also, the chapters are super duper short, which I love. And I think this is really fun, whether you're an adult who likes to read middle grade or you are a child who is actually supposed to be reading middle grade, like the audience that this is intended for. The other one I picked up that I have already read and didn't have a copy of is The Mask of Mirrors by M.A. Carrick. I still haven't read book 2, but I read this last summer from the library and really loved it. It's kind of a Venetian inspired fantasy, and there's a like fantasy Batman vigilante superhero type character. There's a magic system that's tarot based. I just really loved it. I was going to just jump into book 2 and not worry about rereading book 1, but now I feel like I might want to reread book 1. I've also heard the audiobook is really good, and I just read it with my eyeballs the first time around, and I would be very interested in going back and reading it with my ear holes and my eyeballs. I'm sorry. That sounded, yeah. Okay, we'll pretend that didn't happen. Another book I've already read. I was really worried that I would have this really tall stack of books I still have yet to read, but going through this and hearing how often I'm saying I've already read this just makes me feel better about my past decisions. It's another middle grade. This is younger, end of middle grade. This is The Guardian Test, which is book 1 of Legends of Lotus Island. And this is by Christina Soon-Tornvat. I feel like I always say her last name wrong. And this is, I would say, probably good for 8-year-olds, or maybe a little bit younger, or if you know an older kid who isn't like a 10, 11, 12-year-old who isn't a strong reader, because there's still some illustrations, and I'm trying to find a picture. So there's still some illustrations, and the print is fairly big. And this is about Plum, who goes to the sporting school to become a guardian, and guardians are people who are tasked with protecting animals and nature in general. And so you go to this training program for a month to determine if you have the magic needed to be a guardian, and if you do, then at the end of the month you are able to transform into your avatar. And then from that point on, you enter in a year's worth of training to become a guardian. So this takes place during the first month of Plum going to sporting school, and about just making friends and believing in yourself and trusting yourself and not letting other people make you feel bad about yourself, which really, I still need that. So that's always appreciated. All right. And then we finally have one I haven't read yet. This is Saint Death's Daughter by C.S.E. Cooney. This is a book I keep checking out from the library and wanting to read and just not prioritizing in time. And then it goes back to the library, and instead of just knuckling down and reading the copy from the library, I just bought a copy instead. That's fine. It's fine. I don't know a ton about this. I know it has necromancy, and I believe there's a romance in it. I've read one other thing from C.S.E. Cooney. She has a novella called Desdemona in the Deep that was very lyrical and lovely and fairy tale like, and I am always down to read books with necromancers, so I have high hopes that this will be a good time, and whenever I get around to reading it. I also got A Tempest at Sea by Sherry Thomas. This is book also whatever in the Lady Sherlock series. And I am all caught up. I haven't read this one yet, but I at least finally read the one that came out 1.5 years ago. So, go me. Yay. This one we're on a ship. I'm gonna be honest, I'm a little nervous because historically books set on ships don't work for me. The setting ends up feeling a little stagnant. So I'm kind of nervous about reading this with them on a ship. I am hoping, though, that if Charlotte and Ash are in forced proximity with each other, then lots of lovely, romantic, delicious things will happen. So fingers crossed. All right, and then my other book is from my March Illumicrate box. I think I did a video where I unboxed this. Pretty sure I did. This is Song of Silver, Flame Like Night by Amelie Wen Zhao. This is a Chinese-inspired YA fantasy, and I actually finished this over the weekend, and I really enjoyed it. It did have a big old cliffhanger, which I was not expecting, so I have to wait for book 2. But I really enjoyed this. I ended up listening to it on audio because I started reading it with my eyes, and there's a lot of, maybe not a lot, for me it felt like a lot. There's a lot of Cantonese in this book, and I really love whenever an author incorporates another language to try to find the audiobook, because the narrator usually knows how to speak that language, and I get a lot more out of it by hearing it rather than trying to decipher if it's a language I have a little bit of familiarity with, or with Chinese, my eye just skips right over it. So I really like to listen to it, and I loved the narrator for this. I thought she did a great job. I love the world building. I loved the demon gods. It was very, very cool. Is this doing anything different than most YA fantasies? Probably not, but I have really been less interested in consuming YA fantasy stories lately, and I was delightfully surprised by how much this one sucked me in. So yeah. And then the final book in this haul, which is also I think the book I bought, like the first book I bought at the beginning of March, is The Faithless by C.L. Clark. Oh, this cover is a little dark, but God, Luca, look at her. Anyways, this is the sequel to The Unbroken. It's book 2 in Magic of the Lost. The Unbroken is one of my favorite books I read last year. Like hands down of the top books. And I am putting this off a little bit because I am so excited to read it that I'm just kind of basking in that excitement before I finally pick it up. But so this is just going to follow where we left off in The Unbroken, and I'm really excited to see what our two characters get up to, because they are both very messy and not good decision makers overall. I will say, if you have not read The Unbroken yet, I love it. It was a great time, but I would also say if you struggle with characters who cannot make a well thought out decision to save their lives, this might not be the book for you, because they do a really bad job with making big picture decisions. They're all very impulsive. So anyways, that is my book haul for March. If you have made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching and sharing your precious time with me. I appreciate it so much. If you would like to leave a comment, I mean, what should I read out of this pile that I haven't read yet? If you want to leave an emoji, let's just do a book stack. I feel like that's the obvious choice for an emoji comment. Anyways, thanks again for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.